Yeah, Bugs, is that you? Yeah, look, I know I said I'd call earlier, but I've been caught up. But just, we need to get the squad back together. Yeah, I know you told me about you and Lola, you're not on good terms anymore. I get that, that's fine, but if you can just put your differences to the side, just for this one day, this series, this playoff run, we're gonna need to get the squad back together. Have you seen this team? They're ridiculous. LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, they're looking like their prime selves. I mean, Blake Griffin is dunking. People are trying to avoid his posters now. He's got back his hops. Yeah, look, I know, I'm sorry, I didn't help you out when Daffy gave you a black eye. I apologise, but we've got to move on and we've got to look at the bigger picture, and this team is looking ridiculous. We're going to need your help. That is the only possible way. You'll see what you can do? Yeah, okay, that's better than nothing. All right, catch you later. Bye. I didn't even see you there. Sorry, I didn't think I was recording. My apologies, but I was just talking with an old friend, catching up. Nothing major. We'll talk about that at a later date. Right now, we're talking about the Brooklyn Nets and what they've been able to do against the New Orleans Pelicans just recently, because, I mean, this team is ridiculous. I know the Pelicans defense is worse than Stan Van Gundy's diet. Is that too harsh? I mean, it was also harsh when he had those extra pieces of bacon and his cholesterol spiked up a bit. Is that too harsh? I don't know. But I mean, I recognize they're a terrible team right now. I mean, they were unironically playing Isaiah Thomas, Najee Marshall, and Wes Iwundu. Unironically. So I recognize their flaws, and Stan Van Gundy is their coach in 2021. But that doesn't change the fact that the Brooklyn Nets look unstoppable right now. I'm not going to go out and say they're unstoppable, because people want to say that. They want to build the narrative. They want to say, oh, the Brooklyn Nets are a super team that can't be beaten, that could never be beaten, because then if someone does beat them, it just makes the storyline that much greater. But they look like the best team in the NBA right now. And, well, some things have surprised me, which is surprising to me because I didn't think I'd be surprised by pretty much anything that this Nets team did, because they've got Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. Newsflash. 3 players that I thought would actually work well together because, newsflash, they're stars, they're best friends, and, well, they're going to work well together, which they have in the limited time. But I didn't think that LaMarcus Aldridge would turn into the best defensive version of himself ever. Blake Griffin would suddenly find bounce again, and, well, yeah, that's what I didn't think would happen. So before I talk about that in a bit further depth, if you could drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel, that would be much appreciated. I make content like this just about every single day, and doing so really does help. So that would be much appreciated. But let's not waste any time. Like, we know what the Nets are. We know what they're supposed to be. We know about their players, the likes of Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, James Harden. Is there much reason talking about those guys? We know what we're getting from those guys. I mean, Kevin Durant still deserves respect and credit, and I still shake my head at what he does, because at 32, coming off an Achilles injury and then coming off a hamstring injury, coming back, dropping 17, 7 and 5 on 100% shooting from the field, looking like he hasn't missed a beat. This guy is doing things that we shouldn't be taking for granted. An Achilles injury at 32. How many people said he wasn't going to come back? To 90%, to 80%, some people saying, maybe not even 80%, 70% of himself would be good. How about 100%? How about even better? Maybe he is. Hopefully we get an extended enough playoff run where he stays healthy to see how good he truly is right now, but he just hasn't skipped a beat, which deserves, I think, more credit than it's got, because he's suffered a devastating injury and has come back like nothing ever happened. That's Kevin Durant for you. But we don't really need to talk about that, because that's been covered. It will continue to be covered. And we know about these guys. They're ballers. There's nothing much else to say. What I didn't expect to happen was, well, we'll start with Blake Griffin, because as probably one of the thousands of people on planet Earth that actually watched the Detroit Pistons earlier in the season and watched Blake Griffin roam around the court laboriously. Is that a word? You get it. He was laboring. As one of the few people in the world to actually see that, I didn't think he was going to be great for the Nets. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not think he was going to provide much of an impact, and everyone saying, oh, the league's over. Well, obviously, that's not the case now, but he's providing more of an impact. He's looking fresher. He's looking bouncier. He's looking more impactful than I expect. And in hindsight, I mean, you probably could have seen it, because I did see him play a couple of good games for the Pistons, just a couple. And it's obviously through a different lens when you're paying someone $35 million a year to be your superstar player. Seeing a couple of good games is through a different lens to someone who's coming off the bench and playing 15 minutes a night. But that still skewed my vision. I'm going to be honest with you. It skewed my vision. It shouldn't have skewed the vision of people who haven't watched him and saw that he could still play good in spurts, and that's all he's going to need to do in Brooklyn, which is exactly what he's doing, and all of a sudden he's dunking, which we may as well talk about the dunking thing. As a Pistons fan, I don't feel any ill will about his dunking. It's probably the dumbest narrative going around. I'm going to be completely honest. Yes, he hadn't dunked in like 400 days. That was also the equivalent of like 20 NBA games, which, I mean, still is a lot for Blake Griffin the dunker, but even back to his best year 2-3 years ago, he only dunked like 40 times that year, maybe less. So it wasn't a crazy thing to go 20 games without dunking, a lot of which he seemed injured and appeared injured, and was also playing on a team where he was playing 35 minutes a night, one of the worst teams in the NBA. Now he comes to a team with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, James Harden, and I think anyone over 6 foot could dunk on that team. I mean, Kyrie Irving has dunked more times since he's joined Brooklyn than I think he has at any other point in his career. Maybe getting better looks and getting open lanes is allowing him to dunk, not his athleticism suddenly going through the roof. Also the fact he's not playing back-to-backs. He's playing 15 minutes a night instead of 35. But sorry, don't let me ruin the narrative that, oh, he's just come to Brooklyn and he's suddenly got athletic again. No, I think it was more of a situational thing. But what he has come to Brooklyn and done is lock in defensively and look good defensively. I mean, just against the Pelicans before he went up vertical, he defended Zion. Offensively, he's showing what he can do, which is stretch the floor. If there was one thing that I really questioned when he was going to come to Brooklyn, it was his shooting, because in Detroit, he just looked like an awful shooter, let's be honest. He couldn't get any lift on his shots. His legs just weren't getting up. It was terrible. And when you look back at the years, it's really one year that stands out as him being a good shooter. So I thought maybe that was just a bit of an outlier. And it looks like he's got his lift in his shot again. He looks more confident, and he looks like someone who can genuinely stretch the floor. And then offensively, he's always going to be a playmaker. He's always going to be able to post up. He's always going to be able to do those kind of things in short spurts. But it's the defense we need to talk about, because coming off the bench, 15, 20 minutes a night in a playoff setting, Blake Griffin, take it back 2 years ago. The Pistons were getting blown out by the Bucks on one leg. Blake Griffin defended Giannis really well. Yeah, not many people would know that, but Blake Griffin did a really good job defending Giannis. Don't check the numbers, because Giannis put up good numbers. But when he was isolated onto Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin was probably the best player I've seen defend him one-on-one in that postseason run, aside from Kawhi Leonard and a couple of those Raptors guys. So he did a good job at that, which would suggest to me, going forward, you bring him up against some of those sturdier guys like we saw against Zion Williamson the other day. He's got the potential to be that because of his insane lower body strength, his IQ, his knowledge of the angles. He knows what players want to do because he was that player. So defensively, he can just kind of get in their head, if you know what I'm saying. I think defensively, he might provide a bit of an X factor. And then offensively, yeah, obviously coming off the bench in a playoff series when he's going to be probably 10 to 15% better and more engaged than he is currently playing alongside James Harden, well, he's going to catch some lobs. He's going to have some highlights. He's going to look like the Blake Griffin of old for 5 or 10 minute stretches. He's not that, which we have to understand. But if you get that for 5 to 10 minutes, that's enough to change a game, maybe a series, and that's the thing with Blake. I mean, if you were to just look at the numbers, it's 9 points, 4.5 rebounds, a couple of assists. It's nothing crazy. Like I mentioned, it doesn't need to be something crazy. It just needs to be the space of 10 minutes, like against the Pistons. Of course, it was against the Pistons, where he put up like 20 points or something, shot a few threes, looked bouncy. He's going to be the same in the playoffs. He's going to be full of energy. He's going to be ready. And at certain times against certain bench units, he's going to be able to take over a game. Just for a stretch, but that's enough for this Brooklyn Nets team, and that's why he's an X factor. Oh, there's more X factors though. You think I'm done talking about the X factors of this team? No, they've got a few more. LaMarcus Aldridge, I mean, we know what he brings offensively, which I don't think should have ever been in doubt. He's going to be doing the same little post-up, fadeaway, turnaround, jump shot that he's done since he was in diapers until he's in diapers again. That's not in question, and we're going to see that play an impact because the likes of the 76ers, those kind of teams that want to keep their bigs in the paint, Aldridge is going to force them out to the perimeter. You're not going to want to leave LaMarcus Aldridge wide open from 3 because he's going to knock that down. You switch him onto a small, the Nets will still feed him the ball. Like, they know who he is. It's LaMarcus Aldridge. He's still an offensive player. He can still get buckets. But then defensively, he looks engaged. I mean, he looks better than DeAndre Jordan, I think. In my opinion, he's blocking shots. He's going up vertical. He's showing his strength, his wingspan. I mean, he's blocked 2 shots a game since joining Brooklyn, which won't maintain itself, I don't think. I hope not. Otherwise, this super team talk, this Bugs Buddy talk that I just had before, yeah, it might be more serious if he's blocking 2 shots a game, because then there might be no hope for any other team. But defensively, he looks a lot better than we saw in San Antonio. And you can understand he's more engaged, he's more enthused. It's just 20 minutes a night, like I mentioned as well. Don't underestimate how these guys with injuries, at a different age, playing just 15 minutes a night, getting rested, they're just going to have so much more energy, so much more bounce in their legs, because it's just physical. It's not a mental thing. It's both, but it's physical and mental. And both of those things are playing into Blake and LaMarcus looking like themselves just for bursts. And that is all the Nets need, which is the key and the reason why these guys are such X factors that I didn't even think about. Pick your matchup. You want Blake Griffin to go up against Giannis? I don't know if that's still a good matchup. It was 2 years ago. Maybe not anymore. Then put him in for 15 minutes. You want LaMarcus Aldridge to stretch out Embiid? Not in that way, but you want him to do that. Put him in for 15 minutes. He'll do that. They've been better defensively in the 4 games LaMarcus Aldridge has been in the lineup. It's 4 games, very small sample size, but they've been the 11th ranked defense, so that's cool. Overall, those two are looking really good for this Nets team, which is surprising me a little bit. They've been better than I thought, and now having this angle on things, you can understand why. It makes a lot of sense. Then I haven't even mentioned Nick Claxton. He's been good as well. He's an X factor. He's someone who can guard players on the perimeter to a degree. He's switchable. He's got length. He'll catch lobs from James Harden, which is all he has to do offensively, and then defensively, he can make an impact in games. The Brooklyn Nets have so much versatility on this team that it's getting scary, honestly. They've got someone for every matchup. And now with what I see from the Nets, if they get healthy, it's just a different prospect than playing 3 superstars. It's like 3 and then maybe 1 on any given night. Maybe. Generous? Maybe. I don't know. But that's what I'm saying from the Brooklyn Nets. If you like this kind of video, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. That's all I've got to say. Have a good day. I'll catch you next time. Bye.